This is a nice gathering, of squares. Imagine if you were all in the same room, it would be such a different experience. But we have the technology to get together in relative ease. No one had to get on an airplane and wait hours in the airport. What a luxury.
How I missed that?
I missed that. Well, you've been on a few planes, Balu.
Oh yes, I have.
Maybe you can tell us what it feels like.
I'm getting on one this afternoon. So,
yes, where are you heading?
This is in India itself. There's a place called Dehradun in the north of India. Mm-hmm. So there's an academy there. India is celebrating its 75th anniversary independence anniversary next year. So this institute is planning to already started plans to see how we can promote cooperatives. The role of cooperatives over the past 75 years.
All right, well, it is time to start. So welcome, everyone. Welcome to our Asia Pacific Regional Forum in a series of webinars to bring light to different groups and organizations throughout the world that are working and living in cooperative housing. And a warm welcome to our speakers from Pakistan, Australia, Philippines, Malaysia, Indonesia, and Thailand, and to our discussion moderator, Mr. Balu Iyer in India. I'm Julie Lapalm, Secretary General of Cooperative Housing International. I deliver CHI's work program, which includes communications, governance, education, and knowledge sharing, and collaborations. So I'll just start off with a little bit of etiquette as well. So I ask everyone to mute their microphones when they're not speaking. And we will have a question and discussion period at the end. And I ask you to raise your hand using the hand function. I believe we have that at the bottom and in the reactions. Or just using unmute. And we'll hopefully not have everyone unmuting at once. So Balu will be moderating that discussion. And so today I'll go over the goal of this forum and explain CHI and a brief description of cooperative housing. And then I will introduce Mr. Balu Iyer and do a brief introduction of the speakers, and then we'll hear from each of the speakers. And then at the end, we'll have a question discussion, sort of an open forum where people can engage in an open discussion. So today's forum is a networking and information exchange, which aims to connect different actors to one another and to raise awareness about the benefits and potential of cooperative housing, particularly in the world of increasing housing costs and the commodification of housing. Also by introducing groups to the work of CHI and of the ICA Asia Pacific Regional Office, we hope to strengthen the co-op housing movement in the broader region. So these sessions help to make cooperative housing or the cooperative housing model known on a wider scale. So the goal is to raise awareness, plant a seed, and offer up some concrete examples of functioning co-ops. Who is Cooperative Housing International? So CHI is part of the international cooperative movement. We are one of the 8 sectoral organizations of the International Cooperative Alliance. So we are, the International Cooperative Alliance, also known as ICA, is the international apex organization for the cooperative housing movement worldwide. And CHI is the sectoral organization that's representing the housing sector. Our main focus is to promote the cooperative housing model as a viable and human-centered housing solution. We facilitate knowledge sharing via peer-to-peer exchanges. We advocate on behalf of housing co-ops, and we share good practices and create networking opportunities that connect cooperative and community-led practitioners and actors with one another, with civil society and policymakers. These connections can and have led to interesting partnerships and collaborations, such as the Cohabitat Network, which I will explain shortly. And we have one of our partners here, which is ACHR and WeEffect, Arkom. These are all organizations that have come together through this network. So these are a few of our members. We have over 30 members from around the world. So we have a few of their logos here. And so we essentially facilitate the connection of all of these various organizations. And by doing so, we're highlighting good practices from around the globe. So I'm just going to explain the Cohabitat Network. It brings together community-led housing organizations and allies from across the world who work to secure housing through collective, non-speculative, people-led solutions. So CHI is part of this network. So together we demonstrate the successes and potential of community-led housing and make it more widespread and attainable by co-producing knowledge and information exchanges, by connecting people across countries, organizations, and regions, and by co-designing affordable and collaborative financial tools. These are some of the partners that are part of this, this collaboration. And this is a tool that is really quite useful and always evolving. It's a global database of community-led housing that showcases housing projects and partner organizations from around the world. So you can discover and document projects and their partners. So it's kind of like a Wikipedia of collaborative housing to enrich the knowledge on community-led housing. So most of the content is under open data license, so it's freely available for anyone to use, to edit, and to republish. So anyone can add their housing community on here and explain how you were financed, how you acquired the land, how you're governed. So, you know, just basic information to help inspire other groups and to share knowledge, you know, about innovative financial tools, for example. Oh, so this is, yeah, I'm not going to show this. Oops. Uh-oh. I have to relocate. Okay, so what is cooperative housing? So some of you may be new to co-op housing, so I'll give you a brief explanation. In a nutshell, housing cooperative is a jointly owned, democratically controlled enterprise. Co-ops are not owned by the government and they're not charities. They are independently owned nonprofit organizations that are governed by their members. Many housing co-ops try to keep their rent affordable, and some others subsidizes their lower income members. So every co-op housing community is different. Some are large apartment complexes, others are townhouses, and others are single family homes. Some are rental and others are owner occupied. Different co-op models are available depending on the country, but they all have one thing in common, which is that they're focused on community and they're designed to meet the needs, the economic, social, and cultural needs of their members. Oh, meant to show that slide. So in a few minutes, we'll hear from our speakers in this order. So we'll have Ms. Aram Sharif Baji from the Karachi Housing Union, who's also a CHI board member. Then we will move to Australia and hear from Eugenie Stockman from Cooperative Housing. Then we are traveling to the Philippines and we'll hear from Sam Subida from the Federation of People's Sustainable Development Cooperative. And then we are in Malaysia with Mohammed Ali Hassan. And then back to the Philippines with Jessica Soto from WeEffect. And then we go to Thailand and we'll hear about the Asian Coalition of Housing Rights from Brenda Perez Castro. And then we're in Indonesia and we'll hear from Yuli Kozroro. So without any further ado, I hand it over to Ms. Aram Baji. And Shivali will share, I will stop sharing and then Shivali will share the presentation.
Can you see my screen?
Yes. Hello, everyone. My name is Aram Sharif Baji. I'm representing Karachi Cooperative Housing Societies Union Limited, Pakistan. And I'm also on the CHI board. Actually, I'm heading the executive women wing of this organization. And also I'm the VP of Cooperative School, which was the first cooperative school introduced in Pakistan. So here is the presentation. Yes. Can I have the next slide, please? Yes. This, yes, cooperative, yes. This is the start, like cooperatives were introduced in Indo-Pakistan when Pakistan and India were, was a one continent, one country. So it was introduced that time way back in 1904. This is the figure in front of all of you. Can you hear me all? No. Yes, the same slide. Hello. Yes. Okay. So cooperative societies were registered in 1912. The powers transferred to provinces 1919. Pakistan created 46 COP housing societies in 1947. That was the start of Pakistan. And then KCH union established in 1949. I mean, that was early, way back after 1947. That was the first cooperative housing was introduced in Pakistan. That was Karachi Cooperative Housing Societies. Karachi is one of the cities of Pakistan, which exists in one of the biggest province, which is called Sindh. And then we have 4 provinces apart from Sindh. So Karachi is the most biggest and the most cosmopolitan city of Pakistan. So commercial and business started working in 1970. So here is the other figures, the progress of the cooperative housing societies. According to these figures, how we have started the medical education, sports facilities for low class level employment for all people with low level of income. So yes, can I have a bigger picture of this? Yes. In Pakistan, 2010, these are the figures in comparative to the 2019. So you all can see that the housing stocks were 19 million as 145 million, housing cooperative were 2686. Here the figures are in front of everyone. So these are the comparison of 2010 and 2019. So here is the progress. All you can see how it's increasing. Can I have the next slide, please? Can I have the next slide, please? Hello.
Just give me a minute. I
Okay.
think the screen is getting cut.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I'm seeing, that the screen is not complete.
I'll just I'll just stop sharing and reshare it in a minute. Just give me a minute.
All right, please.
Maybe while we're waiting for that, so I completely forgot to introduce Balu Aya. Balu, do you want to introduce yourself and while we wait for...
Is it okay now?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, go ahead, Aram,
So-
and then we'll ask Balu to speak after.
Okay, can I have the earliest slide, please, Shivali? Yes, so this is the review of cooperative housing societies of Pakistan. So here are the figures, and then this is the comparative of the years to 2010 and 2019. The housing stocks, the housing cooperatives we have built so far, and the members. The next slide, please. That's the general statistical data of cooperative sector of Pakistan. It's here in front of you, like cooperative, all types, then the members, housing co-ops members, then housing builds units so far. So Pakistan, it's the complete of all provinces. Like I told you, it is divided into 4 provinces: Sindh, Punjab, uh, Balochistan, and KPK, formerly known as NWFP. So this is the whole complete figures of total cooperatives, not only housing. This is the total cooperative data of Pakistan. So in Pakistan, 8,000, and then the members 26,000, and housing corps are 2,067, and then 19, and then this is the housing units, and then this is divided down the line till this. So upper line is the complete total number of all this Pakistan. Can I have the next slide, please? Yes, now this is the introduction of our cooperative housing society, which is called Karachi Cooperative Housing Societies Union Limited. So Karachi Cooperative Housing Union was established in 1949 and registered under Cooperative Societies Act 1925. The union was established to acquire land from federal and provincial government for housing sector in order to meet growing demand of housing. 24 cooperative housing societies formed and registered under the Cooperative Societies Act became members of the KCHS Union. The union is the apex body of these societies. KCHS Union is the apex body, and rest of the housing societies come under this. The affairs of KCHS Union are run by the board of directors, which consists of 24 directors and one each from the member societies. The managing director is the executive head of the union. Next slide, please. Karachi Cooperative Housing Societies Limited is working on a gigantic project, which is called the Tehsil Town project. So the Karachi Cooperative Housing Society established in the year 1949 under the Cooperative Societies Act 1925 has been playing a vital role in further more and development of a townhouse on the most modern lines under the cooperative fold, which has been acknowledged by various governments from time to time and commented dignitaries and effort. So I will cut it short. KCH Union is running with 24 established societies, and we have a project which is comprises on a 750 acres land, which we purchased from the government, and we are going to build a big housing volume, a big housing, you must say a gigantic project, which is a small city. Can I have the next slide, please? Okay, this is the whole, the map of the project it's going to run, and only 25% of the work is left to be done. And then the planning is already there, and the construction of the houses are underway. Can I have the next slide, please? The area of demarcation is like this. We have the lines, the colors, which are marking these percentages, which are given. Like the residential, we have given this 35% and 5%. These lines I will explain to you in the next slide. Can I have the next? Yes. So the 55% would be the residential in those gigantic project I'm talking about. 5% commercial area, 25% roads, 8% parks, 4% public use place, 3% educational use places like school, universities, and colleges. When it comes to targeted member, there's a town population, it would be around 54,000, and the population held by cooperative housing is around 2.1 million. Next slide, please. Yes, this is the bifurcation of further what I was talking about. The capital requirement for the whole project is as under. So these are the things we are going to do. You can see the figures. The capital utilized 10 million purchase, then the capital available 50 million. Further capital required is 100 million. Out of this 100 million, 40 million has already been done. So we are just looking at rest of the figure, and the construction, everything is underway. So we keep pulling in the amount and we'll keep building the project. It's a big project, so it takes years and years to complete. Next slide, please. So the current scenario of Pakistan under new government is like everyone knows, when the government changes, so we face a lot of problems. There are some negatives, some positives. So these are the things, like our prime minister has taken the climate change seriously, so that we are going to work. The biggest problem in Pakistan is the land mafia. Land mafia, like those who grab the lands and then they own it, and then there are some other issues, legal, illegal. So we have to face with, and these kind of problem we are going to face in these projects as well, but we are minimizing it with the efforts of the government. And then there are so many things. I do not need to read everything. Can I have the next slide, please? So this is all about the most important thing I would like to pin down, that the 5 million home initiative is a housing program and promised by the government, that the 5 million housing apart from this Teston would be given by the government, which is a promise, and it's of course underway. But due to some pandemic, this corona problem, so we are going to face this thing, and it's going to be on a slowest path. But after this period is over, it will come back on its own pace. Thank you very much. Can I have the next slide, please? Yes, thank you very much for listening to me and my whole presentation. I have cut it down. I could not read the whole thing, but this was all I could, give you a small picture of Pakistan and our own organization. I would like to say a few words regarding this housing CHI, Cooperative Housing International. I'm on this board since 2011. I was elected as the board member in Mexico City, Cancun. I still remember at that time our head was Mr. David Rogers, and then it was then he had to step down after 2 years of that. Then Mr. Nicholas came in, and now I'm working under Mr. Anders. So it's been a very good experience working on the board as a CHI member. It's been a comprehensive thing that I have learned a lot from the board, that there were people from Europe and different countries apart from Asia. There were few people from Asia, only Mr. Ali came, and way back during the journal conference in, remember Ali, when did you come? So then we had to learn from the Asian countries. But the total experience with CHI has been very good, that I have learned all from different people, from different three presidents, and who have taken a good care of everything, that it's been a cross-country information, which I have shared my country's information with the board members, and then learn from them, and then given my knowledge to them and getting knowledge from them. It's been a nice that we have been able to implement the same thing in our countries. Thank you very much, and special thanks to Julie, who has been so coordinative in giving the positive effect on the CHR platform. Thank you.
Thank you, Aram. Thank you for giving us a historic perspective of cooperative housing in Pakistan. It goes way back to the 1940s, so it's fairly well established, and nice to see this huge development. Not so great to hear about the land mafia, but yeah, that's it's a reality that is occurring in many different countries. So that's one of the things that is giving cooperative housing a bad name, unfortunately, but they're not all like that, thankfully. So yeah, as I mentioned earlier, I forgot to introduce Mr. Balu Ayer, and so I wanted to give him a chance to say a few words. Balu, do you want to take the stage?
Sure. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. Good morning, everyone. And
good afternoon, good evening, given that we are across time zones all the way from, I think, Mongolia. I see Zolo from Mongolia there, all the way to Canada and the US. So thank you all for joining us for this very interesting webinar. Thank you, Julie, again, and the ACHR board for putting Asia Pacific in your perspective and looking ahead to see how we can engage with cooperative housing in the region. And the pandemic has shown with everyone working from home how important it is to have a roof over your head. And so the need is going to go on increasing. And it was very nice to hear from Arkom about the 5 million home which is being proposed in Pakistan. I'll take a few minutes just to give you all a brief about the Asia Pacific region before we get down to the main, listening to our main speakers. I'd just like to share my screen. Okay, looks like there is an issue with my screen, but so I'll just I'll not share my thing. I'll just briefly provide an overview. The Asia Pacific office is one of the 4 regional offices. The others being ICA in Americas, Cooperatives Europe, ICA Africa, and the Asia Pacific office. We are situated in New Delhi. We started here in 1960. So last year we celebrated our 60th anniversary. In 2013, we established the Malaysia business office, and I see many of our members from Malaysia have joined us. So I'd like to thank them for hosting the Malaysia business office. Totally in the region, we have close to 100, and the numbers keep fluctuating, but the last number is 109 members from across 31 countries. And the region has a pretty vast geography, right from the Middle East, where we have a member in the Palestine, going across all the way to the Pacific Islands. I think the farthest member would be in Kiribati. So these members are spread across. A bulk of them are in South Asia and Southeast Asia. And these members, as you'll know, tend to be large federations, apex organizations who represent cooperatives in the region. And many of them are also federations who represent sectors, for example, agriculture, housing, it could be insurance, banking, a whole range of them. And given the diversity of the Asia Pacific region, not only in terms of countries, but also in sectors, so we work through committees. And in the Asia Pacific region, we have 10 committees, which are both sectoral and thematic. The sectoral committees are agriculture, consumer, credit and banking, education, and forestry, and trade and business. And the ones which cut across, more thematic, are the research committee, the human resources development committee, gender, and youth. And we would like to, and there are many in many countries, and we are going to hear cases today. We have housing cooperatives. So it's an area, I think, where there is need. It has a long history. As Arkom mentioned, some of the housing cooperatives started right from independence, would be over 75 years. So the housing cooperatives are spread across the entire region. So it provides a good opportunity for us to come together. CHI provides the umbrella, and which looks at the interest of housing cooperatives across all the regions. But I think in the Asia Pacific region, given the growing interest, again, it's a process where there is we need to understand about housing cooperatives in the region and what kind of work is happening there. And also in terms of how we can engage with CHI. And so we need, I think over time, we'll get a critical mass to come together and see how we can be much more organized in the Asia Pacific region. But till then, I think this is the start. We need to continue our engagement to learn, to share, and see how we can come together in order to address this important need. I'll stop there, and I think it's more important to listen to the experience of housing cooperatives in the region. So I'll hand it over to Julie.
Thank you, Balu. It's it's important to hear what the ICA Asia Pacific Regional Office does. The ICA is a little bit of a complicated organization, and it's a bit of a spider's web. So it's nice to put the different organizations in perspective. So we will move on. Thank you, Balu. Thank you very much. So now we'll hear from Eugenie Stockman from Cooperative Housing in Australia. Welcome, Eugenie.
Thank you, Julie. It's a pleasure to be here. And I was just reflecting on what Arkom was talking about in Pakistan. And then there's my story, which is of a significantly smaller scale, but I think nevertheless, we're providing some people with very secure tenure. So I'd love to just share with what's happening in Western Australia and Australia more broadly. In doing so, I actually wanted to start with a brief video about cooperation housing. And Julie, have you got the link? Because then it might be easiest to share that from your screen. Excellent, thank you.
There's no sound, Julie.
Autonomous self-managed group of people.
Co-operative. I really know what a co-operative is.
Housing cooperatives offer quality, affordable, community-oriented housing.
It's not the rental model, it's not the home ownership model. It's something in between where there is security of tenure in terms of where you live.
It's very much an autonomous self-managed group of people.
It's not intrusive, yet people are looking out for you and showing kindness.
Members of housing co-ops are more than just tenants.
We work on a consensus basis of decision making, which means that everybody has to have ownership over decisions that are made.
I get to choose the colours that the walls get painted. I don't have to ask permission if I want to hang a picture on the wall.
We collect our own rent and we do our own maintenance on our grounds and our houses.
We have chair, treasurer, secretary, and so on.
They build skills and connect to their neighbours and the wider community.
I'm learning those skills, office work, filing, all those computer skills that I didn't think I would ever have the brain for.
Research from around the world demonstrates the value of housing cooperatives. Co-ops build relationships between neighbours.
We had a little party the other night, didn't we?
Yeah, between ourselves.
The three of us, we did a couple of bottles of red or something, you know, it was lovely, wasn't it? Mm.
Provide stability through security of tenure.
This is ours until we want to move somewhere else, which I don't see me doing.
Have a positive impact on health and well-being.
No, you ain't moving. No, I've been told.
And offer opportunities to acquire skills while reducing the cost of living.
There's many areas where you wouldn't normally push yourself out of your comfort zone.
In Australia, most housing co-ops are a member of an umbrella organisation. This organisation provides support to existing housing cooperatives in areas such as governance, financial management, asset management and property maintenance. They may also assist with the growth and development of new housing and cooperatives.
Mutual investment in the community is the heart of living in a cooperative.
All co-ops are bound by internationally agreed values and principles. All members have an equal say. They build sustainable and inclusive homes and communities.
It feels much more like my home.
We love it. We've been here for 9 years and really pleased. It's the best move we've ever made.
Cooperative living is the future of housing.
Right, I'll share my screen instead. Is that up, Julie?
I don't even know.
It is, yeah. The video keeps showing. Yeah, we can see your presentation. Go ahead.
Excellent. My name is Ojani and I'm the CEO of Cooperation Housing, and like the video explained, we're the umbrella organisation of housing co-ops in Western Australia. We're not big. We have 5 full members at the moment, and we then manage a retirement village as well. Our mission is to really grow the cooperative and build strong communities through the cooperative model. And we really see that cooperatives can play a role in providing security of tenure. At present, our members all have been previously have been funded through what was a community housing program. It was a government funding in the 90s. All our co-ops have been funded through that program. And as a result, they are responsible and are obliged to provide housing for low-income households. So it's social housing, and we haven't gone beyond that just yet. The co-ops are responsible for financial management, asset management, tenancy management. So it's quite a lot. But as the umbrella organisation, we have their back. So if they need help and support, we are there to step in to help out with whatever is required. Cooperation Housing is the organisation based in Western Australia. Across Australia, we've recently formed the Australian Cooperative Housing Alliance, and we also, that's where we work together with umbrella organisations in the other states. South Australia's Common Equity Housing. In Victoria, there's Common Equity Housing Limited and United Housing. In New South Wales, Common Equity. So that's the main organisations that have formed what's referred to as ACHR and work together to progress cooperative housing in Australia. One of the things that we've done together fairly recently is commissioned a research project that would be looking at the value of the cooperative housing model. The very first phase of the research was looking at studies, international studies, quantifying the benefits. And it became very obvious that housing co-ops save costs, build social capital, improve the residents' health and well-being, and that overall resident satisfaction is higher in housing co-ops. We recently received significant grant funding for stage 2 of the research, which is specifically looking at the benefits of housing co-ops in Australia. I think the cooperative housing model is a really good example of community-led development and focusing on that sense of community. And I think what's important in that regard is that we invest not just in the physical buildings, but under the co-op model that we invest in the people. And it's through that investment in what Charles Durrett, a co-housing consultant and architect, referred to as the software. And definitely as an umbrella organisation here in Western Australia, we take that commitment seriously, and we try and provide ongoing training and education opportunities for our residents and those generally interested in maybe moving into a co-op down the track. So I think in the Australian context, the housing cooperative model is a very well placed to deliver quality, community-led and affordable housing. I think we've got some exciting opportunities coming up, including ones that will showcase some different funding models. That means that we're less reliant on solely government funding to build housing co-ops of the future. Thank you. I might just leave it at that and see where this question is towards the end. Thank you, Julie.
Thank you, Eugenie. And yeah, thank you for showing that video. It's really important to share, what cooperative housing is and the benefits and how it impacts its members by sharing these visual stories. And yeah, if I can have permission to borrow that quote, I really like that comparison between the software and the hardware. It's really, it describes cooperative housing, quite accurately. So thanks for sharing that poignant quote as well.
Absolutely. There's a couple of videos. We've got a YouTube channel. There's a couple of videos also of our individual housing co-ops. If people are interested, they're accessible through our website. But have a look.
Yes, and I remember seeing that video before when as I started watching it, I realized, oh, I think I've shared that on our social media. So yeah, I've shared a few of your videos. Keep them coming. They're great.
Thank you.
So next we have Ms. Sam Subida from the Federation of People's Sustainable Development Cooperatives in the Philippines. Welcome, Sam. Would you like to share your screen?
Hi, good. Thank you, Ms. Julie. Good afternoon. It's already 12 here in the Philippines at noon. So good afternoon from the Philippines. So it is my pleasure to represent in behalf of FPSDC and share with you the different initiatives that we do in line with cooperative housing in establishing a sustainable cooperative housing community. So for this presentation this afternoon, the outline of the presentation will be, first, I will be presenting who FPSDC is, our history, our profile, and then also after that, I will be presenting the different programs and services that we do in FPSDC. And then following that, I will be giving you a brief history and a profile of what Co-op-Bill is. And then lastly, I will be sharing with you the different challenges and the different takeaways that we got from those experiences in developing Co-op-Bill. So first off, I would first like to introduce who FPSDC is. So the name of our cooperative is a bit of a tongue twister, but once you get used to it, it'll be easier. So FPSDC stands for the Federation of People's Sustainable Development Cooperative. So it is a secondary cooperative established in 1998. So it was established through the organization of its 21 founding members. So after more than 2 decades, the then 21 founding members grew into around 170 cooperatives. So this is from all around the Philippines, from the 3 main islands of Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao. So in FPSDC, we also anchor ourselves in this vision and mission that we have set for our organization. So for our vision, we see FPSDC as a leading federation committed to the advocacy and work for social justice and equity towards social transformation. And this vision is further supported by our mission. So in our mission, we declare that and we recognize that we are a part of a global movement working for alternative structures and means for social justice and equity. So we just highlight here the very essence of the cooperative movement. And then following that, we declare the different facilities and the different services that we offer to our members. So we facilitate cooperative development by strengthening, providing support and access to value-based, innovative, and responsive programs and services. And apart from that, as I mentioned earlier, as stated in our name, we are working for sustainable development. And in order for us to do that, we have set this somehow of a gauge for us, so that we can concretely implement this concept of sustainable development that we have in mind. So in FPSDC, we advocate for the 4 P's of sustainable development. Specifically, this stands for people, planet, prosperity, and peace. So this parameter serves as our gauge in developing projects or in approving programs of our members, so that we can ensure that we abide by our principles, by our advocacy. So for people, we only mean that we ensure that our different programs and services promote social justice, equity, among many others. For planet, of course, we want to ensure that our programs would promote environmental preservation, among many others. For prosperity, we don't just mean financial security, but most importantly, food security. A more holistic type of prosperity other than financial. And then lastly, we are hopeful that these 3 P's would lead to our goal, which is to promote peace. And by peace, we mean global unity, promotion of the cooperative principles, among many others. So that's for our advocacy. And for us to deliver this to our members, to our different partners, we offer different services to them. And for FPSDC, our 2 main services are the financial services and the non-financial services. But for this morning, I will be focusing more on the non-financial side of FPSDC, because here is where the sustainable development housing model of FPSDC comes in. But for financial services, we offer our members socialized credit and socialized investment, just like all the other lending cooperatives. So here, focusing in the non-financial services, we have three main services. Number one is institution building and advocacy. Two, development of a sustainable development housing model where Co-op Bill comes in. And then lastly, distribution and marketing. So for our institution building and advocacy, here is where we, in FPSDC, we visualize institution building into a framework where it is divided into two parts. So first, we ensure that we capacitate FPSDC first as an institution because we believe that we cannot give what we don't have. So we must first capacitate FPSDC in order for us to effectively deliver the services and needs of our members. And then apart from that, also the other side of the framework is the capacity building of our members. So that's where the different trainings, learning exchanges takes place. So next, another non-financial service of FPSDC, as I've mentioned earlier, is the distribution and marketing facility. So I will be sharing with you a brief view of the framework of our framework in the distribution and marketing facility of FPSDC. So we envision the entire distribution and marketing facility, and we run it through this framework. So as you can see, there is two different sides of the said framework. One is the development side, and the other is the business side. So in FPSDC, we operate our distribution and marketing facility in a value chain approach of doing business. Meaning, as early as production up until consumption, FPSDC is already there. So I'm sharing this framework with you so that later on you can visualize how the cooperative housing that we have in Cagayan de Oro can supplement or complement in this framework that we have. So in the development side, here is where we mostly transact with our members. We consolidate their products, which we purchase on cash on delivery basis. We also offer financial support as early as production, in the demo farms, harvest, working capital, etc. And we also offer development support through trainings, infrastructure support, quality development, and packaging improvement, among many others. So that's the development side of it. The other side of the framework is the business side. So here's where the work for FPSDC takes place mostly. So here's where we process the raw materials from our members, which we market and distribute to supermarkets, institutions, export market. We also have our own web shop, the peelingpinoy.coop web shop. It's similar to Amazon and other e-commerce platforms. So that's FPSDC, the distribution and marketing facility of FPSDC. So in order for us to market this, we have our Farms and Cottages brand. So our Farms and Cottages brand is accredited by the Food and Drug Administration.
You've muted yourself, Sam. Can you unmute, Sam? Sam, we can't hear you because you're muted. Sam, we can't hear you.
Hello?
Yeah.
Hello, sorry. I didn't know I was put on mute. Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Hello, am I being heard?
Yes.
Okay, so that's for the distribution and marketing facility of FPSDC. So now I will be presenting now the main part of this presentation, development of cooperative housing community in FPSDC. So in FPSDC, we call this the Co-op Bill, the Co-op Bill as the Co-op Bill facility. So Co-op Bill is a sustainable housing program of FPSDC that aims to build not only physical houses, but develop a sustainable community as well. So it is a 5-hectare land located in the northernmost part of southern Philippines. So we also see Co-op Bill as our way to embody the 7 cooperative principle, which is the concern for community. So we say that this emphasizes concern for community because initially FPSDC really did not plan having okay, so I'll just briefly go through this the history of Co-opville. So so FPSDC did not really plan to have a Co-opville as I mean they did really plan to venture into cooperative housing, but as a need arises after tropical storm Sendong washed out the northern part of southern Philippines. So a lot of our cooperative members, their individual members were badly affected. They lost their homes, their livelihood, and then they also lost some even lost their family members because of this tropical storm Sendong. So, and in order for us to address this, since this is a major concern of the cooperative, we provided the land that we had and partnered with different civil society organizations and the church in building Co-opville because we see this as a primary need of the different individual cooperative members that were affected by the calamity. So it was in July 2012 where the groundbreaking of Co-opville took place and was attended by the different cooperative partners in building Co-opville. So for us to concretize this, we built Co-opville through two phases. Number one, through the building of houses and facilities. And number two, because we want it to be holistic for them, here is where we also develop different livelihood opportunities for them. So for the phase one in the building of houses and facilities, we built different houses and the different facilities that would help them bounce back from what happened. So each unit in Co-opville is consisted of 25 square meter floor area situated within a 50 square meter lot area. So they in order to abide also with our advocacy for renewable energy, these were built through the earth-friendly interlocking compressed earth blocks. So at present, we have different facilities in Co-opville. Apart from the houses, we have single detached units, quadruplex units, multi-purpose hall, daycare center, health center, covered court, and bed and breakfast facility. And then following that, as I've mentioned earlier, we also developed different livelihood opportunities for Co-opville. So this is how we envision to strategically develop the livelihood opportunities in Co-opville. So we place different zones in the different parts of Co-opville. And we have the blue zone. So here is where most of the area, here's where most of, this will house the existing facilities in Co-opville. And then we also have the green zone and the red zone, which will be more of the agritourism site or the relaxation and well-being site. This was where it was supposed to be placed before the pandemic happened. And then lastly, yellow zone, this will serve as the biggest zone that will carry the biggest enterprise area in Co-opville. So I think since we're running out of time, I will no longer delve into the WeEffect and Hive program, but later on, should there be any questions, I would gladly answer it. So these are just some of the enabling programs that we have to complement the distribution and marketing facility, as I mentioned earlier. So WeEffect is a program that we envision to encourage youth to come back to agriculture so that they can participate in agriculture given the rising concerns in aging farmers and the like. And also Hive is, as I mentioned earlier, it will be situated in the yellow zone of Co-opville. So this will be like a social franchising model. So this will be the pilot model, which will be managed by the cooperative within Co-opville, which we call the People Sustainable Consumer Cooperative. So essentially, they for the pilot model, it will be for cocoa sugar. So they will be processing the cocoa sugar, which will be marketed in the in FPSDC or other institutions that will be demanding for the said product. So just 3 more slides. So for in Co-opville in numbers, so at present we have 176 units in Co-opville. We house around 133 families, and individually we have around 600 residents. So just to share with you the different challenges that we faced in developing Co-opville. So number one, we all know, I think that was from Pakistan earlier when they said community development does not only stop after building the houses, but it requires continuous investment in order to respond to the needs of the residents. Number two, community management. Of course, we know that the different residents come from different backgrounds, from different belief systems. So we have to ensure that safety and unity within the community is always prioritized. And lastly, the COVID outbreak. Of course, this is common to all of us. The pandemic really shook us in different ways we did not expect. So we had to put on hold the different livelihood opportunities that we were eyeing for Co-opville. So yeah, but we are hopeful that in the coming years we could still proceed in implementing these enterprises for Co-opville. So and as parting words to end my presentation, so I would just like to highlight the three takeaways that we as an organization were able to get from the development of Co-opville. So number one, cooperative is always the best model. So as we've mentioned in the background of Co-opville, the residents of Co-opville are survivors of a tropical storm calamity. And we see that they're coming together as a cooperative is really one viable way so that they could foster self-help and they could continue on with the different enterprises that they plan, that they see as a way for them to bounce back. And then number two, rehabilitation must always be holistic. So I think, as what Mr. Balu said earlier, it's not enough to just put roofs or over their heads, but we have to ensure that they will be able to thrive in that rehabilitation area that they have. And lastly, innovation is key. It is vital that we take innovation and the idea of future proofing as key elements in building a community. So this is in order for them to be prepared in whatever change that may come along their way. So that's the brief introduction of Co-opville. I'm sorry for going beyond the time, but it is really our pleasure to share.
Yeah, you've muted yourself again, Sam.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Sam. Yes, it's easy to see why it's difficult to explain FPSDC in less than 8 minutes. You're very versatile and complex organization and involved in so many different aspects with the distribution and marketing and training and now with housing, with Co-opville, it's you know, my head is dizzy just just hearing about it. But yeah, and you know, and it's true that you know, with climate change, it's forcing you know, people out of their homes and having to rethink, you know, how to rebuild better, and cooperative housing is you know, one of the best solutions, you know, in order for communities to come together and build back together collectively and more resiliently. So it's nice to see that you know, that you're doing that. Thanks again, Sam. I'm sure there'll be lots of questions at the end. So we will move on to Mr. Mohammed Ali Hassan from ANGKASA in Malaysia. Welcome, Ali. You'll have to unmute yourself, Ali.
Sorry. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and early morning to some. Thank you very much, Julie. Thank you, fellow presenters, and of course, Mr. Balu here. I'm trying to just present as brief as I can. Maybe first slide, please, Julie. Yeah. This is my title of representation: Cooperative Housing in Malaysia, Present and Future Outlook. I'm trying to present to you the future and the present outlook of cooperative housing in Malaysia. I'm hoping to share all those which I have underlined, but I'm not going to dwell all those because many of you perhaps know about Malaysia, and perhaps I have highlight one or 7 slides only. No, skip this. Malaysia at a glance to share. I'm trying to emphasize the cooperative housing performance and how is our involvement in cooperative, and also our national cooperative consortium limited that is going to be formed, that had been formed but had been transformed into Federation of Cooperative Housing and Construction Industry. And then I highlight to you some of the cooperative housing involvement, and I think I will make some suggestion and conclusion, which probably we can discuss further in line with what our intention, CHI in Asia Pacific, for example, to build, to bring in all interested parties to share and perhaps complement each other to build more houses in not only in respective countries, but also within this region in line with cooperative principles and ideologies. Next, please. Can I get slide number 7, please? Julie, slide number 7. Yeah, current housing issues. Let me share with you the current housing issues. Many of us feel or believe that housing is basic. Shelter is basic. We are really wanting to have an affordable housing for all Malaysians. But to some, housing needs is basically universal, but then I can sense there are a kind of demarcation between the rich and the poor, and perhaps between regionals to region, between the rural areas and urban areas. There's some kind of housing type and housing facilities for all. But some houses have been built, but perhaps still it's not enough for all. Some houses being built is not only for us to own, but perhaps just to see rather than to own the house. And we have also some problem. For example, we have our national housing policy, but the national housing policy, the state have different priorities. They have different emphasis on building houses of different types. And although we have targeted, like for example, in 2016 is the year of affordable housing, but still there are still a lot of houses to be needed by most common people, and a lot of people still wanting to build a house. We have heard recently, for example, one of the ruler wanting to build a house with only $1 investment from the population or the people. That is a challenge to all. And we are trying to build houses for the poor and for the needs and for even for the youth, for the matter. And there is a statement by the ministry. There's a shortage of affordable housing in Malaysia. Only a quarter of houses launched nationwide from 2016 to March has been built, which is priced around 250,000. So for many of us, the boundary of 250,000 ringgit Malaysia is considered to be affordable houses. But more than that is for the rich. So can I show number 8, please? Slide number 8. Julie, slide number 8. Yeah, these are current housing issues. There are a lot of agencies and government agencies, even private sectors and NGOs, plus even cooperative trying to build affordable housing houses. For example, we have what you call, so same number 8, please. We have this residential Prihatin from the Federal Factory wanting to build 10,000 units between 2021 to 2024. We have at the moment the goal of national policy to provide adequate, comfortable, quality, affordable housing to enhance the sustainability of the quality of life of the people. This is a very good and what we call very fine goal, but in reality, we have yet to see this thing to be materialized. And I ask for page 10, please, slide number 10. Number 10, 8, page 10, no, 10. Next, please. Yeah. So in Malaysia, now let me share with you some of the cooperative housing performance. To let you know, 2021 is the 50 years anniversary of ANGKASA, and next year is 100 years anniversary of cooperative in Malaysia. So perhaps it's high time for us to ponder what have we achieved, what have we been capitalized, what have been we contributed in terms of housing. Let me show, for example, in June 2020, there are some 14,668 cooperatives in the whole of Malaysia, but only 313 co-op housing. So it's about 2.113%. So problem of cooperative housing can be highlighted, for example, 50% co-op housing, no stable financial resources. There are high bank loan, 85% cost of the project from bank, investment 5 to 7 years, weak technical management, project monitoring and implementation, co-ops over-dependent on consultant. I have a number of cases, for example, when you rely on consultant, during COVID pandemic, for example, we have consultants from overseas, we have consultants from neighboring countries, which are not able to come and visit and do continuously their work. So the project being left abandoned. So for almost 1 or 2 years during a pandemic, the housing project being left abandoned. And currently, of the all cooperative in Malaysia, 30% of cooperative not active due to COVID-19. Next, please. Page 11. Maybe we can share with you our vision about ANGKASA's perspective on housing needs. We try to excel in housing cooperative contribution to 5 billion of the national GDP, property development and construction industry sector by 2020. So by hopefully we have achieved that. And we are trying to achieve at least by 15 billion by 2025. So currently, the total contribution of cooperative for GDP is only 3%. So we have to, there is a high order, a tall order for cooperative to contribute more to GDP. I believe through housing cooperative, we could enlarge the cakes and contribute more to GDP of the nation. Next page, please, page 12. Next, please. Julie, yeah. This is the statistics up to June 20. As I said earlier, only 313 active cooperative housing. It's only 2%. And total membership also about 2%. Total shares, which I calculated, only 1.57%, so about 2% too. Total assets, less than 1% of the total cooperative in Malaysia. And turnover of the housing cooperative is less than 0.01%. So we have room for improvement. I think we can do more, perhaps with assistance from different sectors or from different assistance that been given by technical assistance or by working joint venture project with other countries. Look, for example, some of the projects that are being planned. Next. Next page. Right. We have the Philippines. They were trying to promote co-op bill. Malaysia by itself trying to promote co-op city, a city being developed by cooperative, run and managed by cooperative, owned and contribute capital by cooperative. ownership by cooperative, business management by cooperative, and funded by cooperative. There are new cases, various cases of co-op city being developed, one in Johor, and almost every state wanting to have their own co-op city in Malaysia. So we hope this project will be realized soon. So perhaps I will just dwell into the future. Page 21, please. Just page 21, the future outlook. This is 14. Now, these are some of the samples. These are examples about before that. 20, please. Yeah, example of successful housing. I highlight here. There are 7 housing cooperative that is very successful in Malaysia. For example, Koperasi Tunas Muda Sungai Arah Berhad Pulau Pinang, to the extent they give free house to their members. They build themselves and they give free houses from them. One of the reasons why they can afford to give a free house to their members is that because at one time they own a large chunk of land and they build that land perhaps less price and very cheap, and then they can afford to give free houses to their friends, their members. Koperasi Belia, and I know that number 5, Koperasi Sembalin Berhad, through various joint venture with private sector, with government agency, they build houses, not only for members, but also for members. They build high-rise buildings. And I think at one time, we showed the members of CHI during our regional or global forum here in Malaysia. Next. So in order for future, I believe shelter is fundamental human need. Housing plays an important role in people's well-being, contributing to the physical and mental health, education, employment, and security outcome for individuals. If we have that in line in our thinking, I think we will give priorities and allocation for development of housing projects. I believe it is everyone's right to own a house or home rather than a house that is comfortable, affordable, convenient, sustainable, and holistic to ensure long-lasting quality of life, is what have this, the previous speakers mentioned. Next, my suggestion. Next page, please. Next. Next page. And here, next. Okay, my suggestion at national level, cooperative. We believe our own cooperative have their own property. They have various size of their own properties, but at present, I think they have not speed up their process of development for housing project and others. So the rest, for example, I suggest a kind of blueprint for cooperative housing and ensure various resolution being carried out, and establishment of a federation of cooperative. And by right, I think this federation tomorrow itself, I think we're going to deliberate whether the consortium of property, cooperative, and construction industry in Malaysia can be transformed into a federation of property, cooperative, and construction industry in Malaysia. And we hope this can be done tomorrow. And then there should be a close report between various co-op property sectors of Malaysia, and of course, between various agencies at different levels and different sectors. Next, at international level. Next page, please. The last one.
Ali, can you make it quick because we're running over time?
Yeah, the last one is regional. I'm suggesting global and regional housing co-op bank, financial, and of course the last one, number 5 and number 6, CHI Asia Pacific Regional Workshop and Committee. This is, I think, in line what myself and Arkom was thinking about formation of CHI at Asia Pacific level. I guess that's all. Thank you very much, Julie. I finished.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Ali.
Did you
Yeah,
hear me or not? I wasn't sure.
No, that's fine. Yeah, so just in the interest of time, we'll move on to Jessica Soto from WeEffect in the Philippines. Welcome, Jessica.
Hi, thank you, Julie, and good afternoon, everyone. I told you earlier that I wouldn't be presenting a slide, but I have very few slides, but I promise I will keep mine to 5 minutes.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah, can you share your screen there?
All right. Yes, I was trying to share. Can you see it now?
Yeah, we can see it, yeah. Okay, go ahead. Oh, Jessica seems to have frozen. I think maybe it might be best if you don't share, because we don't hear you well. Jessica, I think you'll have to unshare because we can't hear you.
On what WeEffect is. And
Jessica, as soon as you started sharing, we couldn't hear you very well. So I think you'll have to unshare and just give it orally.
Okay, okay. Hello.
Yeah, your sound is not coming in. Can you unshare your screen? Because I think it's taking up too much bandwidth.
I have unshared already.
Okay, I guess it's just taking a little bit of time. Okay. Jessica, are you there? We seem to have lost Jessica. Okay, maybe she'll come back in. So while we wait for Jessica to come back, we can move on to Brenda Perez Castro from the Asian Coalition of Housing Rights.
Sure. Thank you very much, Julie, for this invitation. And we're really pleased to be here, actually, because this is a point of connection between different networks that I think we share a lot of values, a lot of principles, but probably haven't had the opportunity to share specific solutions and specific projects. Should I go on, or should we try with Jessica again?
Okay, Jessica, are you back with us?
I'm so sorry. Yes.
Okay.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can. You're coming in, so. Okay, we'll move on to Brenda, and then maybe if you close some applications, or just to, maybe you should, if you just have your Zoom open, that might help. So we'll move to Brenda, and then we'll see if you've sorted your sound issue. So Brenda, if you want to go ahead.
Thank you very much, Julie. As I was saying, the Asian Coalition for Housing Rights is a network at the Asia level, present in 19 countries. And we have been working basically with organized communities of urban poor dwellers. I want to share a few slides, if it is possible.
Yes, please go ahead. Yeah.
Can you see it now?
Yeah, we can see it. Do you want to, yeah, that's good.
That works?
Perfect.
Okay. So the Asian Coalition for Housing Rights is, as I was saying, a network of organized communities and community groups from 19 countries, around 19 countries, but also of professionals and support groups that often include as well local governments and national governments. I think our entry point to this discussion is slightly different because the history of ACHR starts as a coalition, as its name says it, fighting against housing rights violations such as evictions. And this is how we started, but the way the coalition has changed from this initial idea of fighting evictions until becoming an organization that brings together different stakeholders to provide solutions and proactive ways of articulating different stakeholders to come up with solutions in housing and access to land, shows how the coalition has been adapting to the reality of our context. So I want to share a little bit of, again, as I was saying, our entry point is slightly different. I think most of our members of the ACHR are organized communities, but also professionals and NGOs. And our principle has always been that, or the ideas that we share as a coalition is that the solution for the housing problems and for poverty issues in general rely on people. People are the solution, are the driving force of the solutions that can be found for accessing land and accessing housing. So we have always promoting the idea of community-led housing. This has evolved also to realize that it's not only organized communities that can create an actual structural change in our countries, but it is necessary to work in networks at the city level and also at the national level. This is I want to emphasize on this point because I think it's slightly different from what we have seen so far in the network of the cooperative housing federations, that a lot of them are based on specific initiatives, specific communities that come together. And what we try to promote is that the poor communities that are usually slum dwellers or informal settlers or room renters come together as a network and try to find solutions and negotiate with their local governments, with landowners, etc. So our process is slightly different to what a traditional cooperative housing process is different, but what we have been observing is that we share a lot of principles. And one of them is the fact that we think that everything should be thought as a collective process, but also the process of organizing, saving, negotiating, planning, building, repaying credits, owning land and owning housing and managing and growing as a community is a collective process, but it also produces a product, housing and land, that should be collective and is collective. And the strength that specifically poor communities can have as a collective is much more than what they can have as individual. And this is where we have seen that the cooperative housing scheme or as an institutional framework, collective housing has enabled some of these communities in some countries to provide an institutional framework that recognizes organized communities. As you may imagine, slum dwellers usually are not recognized as citizens in many of the Asian countries. Many of them are migrants, so they don't, in many cases, they don't have papers. So for them, it's very difficult to access any sort of housing solution. While if they're organized in a collectivity, such as a cooperative, it is easier for them to enter a process of negotiating and establishing partnership with more formal actors, such as local governments, also landowners, and getting recognition to access land and finance mostly. So we have seen that although community-led collective housing and cooperative housing share a lot of principles and mechanisms, the difference we see with cooperative housing is that cooperative housing is actually providing a legal framework that in many cases our processes don't have. So this is our main interest in sharing with you today, is trying to find those points of connection and hopefully for our further collaboration with the groups in Asia that are working already on cooperative housing. I'm going to explain really briefly, but also to make the point that community processes that start from informal settlers and support groups are very messy. This looks very organized, but this is not how it is. Actually, if you look at the bottom part of the slide, you would see that this is a lot of the dimensions or the activities that many of our group members in the region use to organize themselves. They develop community finance schemes that are mostly savings and credit groups at the community level, but also at the city level. This is always managed by the groups themselves. These processes are often informal, but help them in getting organized, getting to know each other, understanding the problem of slums at the city level, and getting to know each other and develop solutions together. From that, it's very easy that communities can start planning together and coming up with specific projects together, can start to negotiate land for specific projects, but also at the city level, because when slum dwellers have information and understand what their position in the city is, they can start to interact and negotiate more easily with city level actors. And in that way, they can access also housing and services. This is, in general, if you may think this is a very similar process to what the cooperative housing processes are. But the truth is that in reality, many of the poor community groups actually cannot follow this process as clean as it looks here. And actually what we have seen is in different countries, the process it's very, very entangled. And it may start with saving groups, or it may start with the slum upgrading of infrastructures, small scale infrastructure projects. But some other processes may start from, as I was saying, from infrastructure projects. Some others may start from communities organizing themselves at the settlement level. So what I want to show with this slide is that this is not straightforward. And a lot of the process of organizing for community-led collective housing and leading eventually to cooperative housing in Asia is very complicated. And these three cases show three different countries, the process of three different countries. I want to show that this is an example. Sorry, my cat is interrupting me. I want to show that some of the although this is a very what is seen as a very messy process, actually produces a huge impact. And what we're showing here is one of our projects that was finished in 2014. Sorry, cat. That was finished in 2014. Actually. Managed to build 146 housing projects in 5 years with the support of 100 partner organizations in 19 countries. What I want to point out here in this ACHR program, the Asian Coalition for Community Action, was that a lot of the learnings that we got had to do with the fact that it is possible to keep communities where they are. It is not necessary to create new settlements and new developments outside the cities, but you can actually redevelop and create communities with adequate housing in the lands where communities, these traditional slum communities are located. 51% of our projects under that program were done as on-site projects. And we also managed to see that of the 136 projects that were done under the ACHR program, 46 had collective housing. This actually is a point that I wanted to emphasize on, because a lot of the achievements that we have seen as a coalition in the groups that work on the ground in each of these 19 countries is that they have to adapt to the legal framework that they have in their countries. So in many cases, there is no cooperative laws, or there is no collective land tenure allowed. So what the groups have done is trying to adjust their process to the legal frameworks that they have in their own communities, in their own countries. So what we're doing now, after also trying to learn from that experience of the ACHR program, was also to see what needs to be done at the national level to support this kind of ideas. So we are currently implementing a project that is aiming to strengthen the collective housing movement in 10 countries in Asia. And what we have asked our members is to run an analysis of what is happening and what is the community process at the national level, what are the strengths, what are the weaknesses, and also read a little bit of the environment and see what needs to be changed in the policy environment, or in the and also in the partnerships that they have at the national level, to make sure that we can further the collective housing movement in 10 countries. And what we have seen is that there are different emerging strategies from their countries. This is not something that is defined from ACHR, but it's actually done. It's actually done from the countries who decide what to do. And the 10 countries have decided to do mapping of the existing collective housing projects. So documenting and sharing existing experiences. So we're currently documenting around 70 cases of collective housing in the region. Some of them are doing context or policy research to also better understand what are the different possibilities to expand and scale up the solutions that these communities have found. Under the COVID situation, of course, a lot of one of the strategies that the ACHR groups tend to use is to bring together different communities that have experienced or have already gone through a process of organization and production of or collective production of housing. And that's one of our strategies, bringing all these people together. But because of the COVID situation, this has actually turned into a lot of webinars, conversations, and workshops online, which although has expanded also the possibilities for a lot of groups to meet each other and to learn from each other. This project is also supporting pilot or demo projects, demonstration projects in only 3 countries because the resources are not too much. So what we're trying to do is to try to invite all the countries in the region to see if they can connect these this project, which is aiming at strengthening the networks with their action on the ground, because a lot of our members are, they don't depend on ACHR, they're actually doing their own work in building communities, as you will see when our friends from Arkom Indonesia present. They're doing a lot of projects on the ground from which they learn and they share that learnings with our network ACHR. A lot of the projects of the strategies of these projects in each of the countries is also to advocate and to try to promote policy influence. Reason why we think that this gathering today with you is very important, if we can connect with members of your network in each of the countries where we're working is very key for us, because we see that cooperative housing is an institutional framework that we need to explore further. And finally, the work.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm one slide.
If you can wrap up, please. We have 2 more speakers.
Yes. As I was saying, and Julie introduced the Cohabitat.io platform, we are already documenting a lot of the case studies and the collective housing projects that we have supported through the years. So we are in the process of doing that, and we have uploaded some cases that you can visit in the platform, but also in our website, achr.net. So I just wanted to invite you and to maybe provoke a little bit of the discussion going forward. I think, again, as I have said, that we have shared principles from our understanding of what the community-led processes are and what cooperative housing stands for. I think we share a lot of those principles. We are looking for non-speculative solutions. We are trying to promote self-sufficiency in communities. We are promoting radical participation, and we are thinking this beyond housing. It's not just about housing, but it's about building alternative ways of living together and promoting growth in communities as collectives and also as individuals. But our question as well, and this is as we're exploring cooperative housing as an answer for what we do, is how to make sure that cooperative housing is accessible to slum dwellers, so to informal settlers, because this is an issue that we have observed in around a lot of the countries that are involved in this project. Cooperative housing usually has a lot of paperwork, a lot of costs because of the legal framework. So how do we make sure that they can serve the population that has the lowest income? The other question is how to get governments to actually revive cooperative schemes, because a lot of governments do have laws and frameworks that support cooperative housing or cooperatives in general, but they're not enacted, they're not supported, there are not the funds allocated to them. So how do we work together to make sure that governments do use those frameworks? and how to avoid excessive paperwork. Something that we have observed in some of these countries is that the cooperative housing process it's very time consuming, and in many cases communities find it challenging to be part of this process because of all the paperwork. So how do we make it flexible so it responds to the needs and the ways of people, the ways in which people organize themselves? So I'm just going to leave these questions, and I'm hoping that we can discuss them later. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Brenda. Sorry for having to rush you, but yeah, we're
no problem.
We're running over time. But yeah, I appreciate your observations, and they're noted. And it is true that cooperative housing development is not fast and it's not easy. Even in countries where the legal framework is very well established, it's it is kind of intensive, and it is a challenge that needs to be addressed and surmounted, and also the target populations, because it is in some in most countries, it's cooperative housing is not a government it's not a government form of housing, so but it's dependent on government subsidies and operation subsidies and living subsidies, so the relationship is intertwined, and it sometimes it's the lines are blurred, so it's difficult to know where who is responsible for what. But yes, definitely fodder for more discussion. So thank you again, Brenda. And we will try with Jessica again with WeEffect in the Philippines. Jessica, hello.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Good afternoon again. I will try to be very quick because I know that we are running out of time. I'm not going to introduce my organization, but can I request you to please Google it, I think I will start by saying that there is a housing need in the country. And Brenda's presentation is similar to, what we are trying to do, promoting and demanding government to provide shelter and housing for their constituencies. But at the same time, we are guided by the UN Habitat perspective. We are guided by the 7 elements of adequate housing, where we look at legal security of tenure, availability of services, materials, etc., affordability, habitability, accessibility, location, and cultural adequacy. I would say that in the Philippines, our approach is hybrid. And we're trying to do, what we're trying to do is really organize slum dwellers into cooperatives. You're right, Brenda, it's not easy. There's so much challenges that goes into it, but I think it's going to be sustainable in the long run. What we have right now in our work is that if I look at the status, we have organized 49 housing cooperatives, but 21 of which have mother cooperatives, maybe like FPSDC. 28 housing cooperatives are actually from the slum dwellers. 8 are homeowners association at the moment, and they are actually into the perspective of developing them into housing cooperatives. What we did is have this partnership with the Cooperative Development Authority to be able to streamline and make it easy for housing cooperatives to do away with excessive paperwork. And we also able to organize a joint monitoring and evaluation committee for housing cooperatives, where you have all shelter agencies and financing institutions coming into that forum and talking about how we can actually share the burden, of building houses for the poor. At the moment, we were able to resettle 2,980 families, but of the 21 co-ops, there are different housing status, I would say, of their projects. Some are into the social preparation, some are now into the land acquisition, others are into the ongoing construction. So where do we want to go from here? I think we are now in the development of the Cooperative Housing Union. And if you have the models in Malaysia of the cooperative city, we have what we call the cooperative housing township, where we are now in the process of acquiring 240 hectares estate, of which 66 hectares is devoted for economic zone. We are also trying to establish a housing co-op funding network, and thanks, Julie, for sharing those information. At the moment, 15,620 families are waiting for financing. These housing proposals are already with the government, Social Housing Finance Corporation, but unfortunately, the government has only 0.002% of the national budget. So when you look at it, actually, it can only build over 600 housing units. So with 6.7 million housing backlog, that's really just a drop in the bucket. I'm trying to look at my notes. So basically, these are the data that I wanted to share with you. And I will be looking forward to how we can actually collaborate better, meaningfully, and in a more sustainable way. I was supposed to show you different slides of our housing projects in 4-story, single detached, and post-disaster housing projects, which of course is different from each other. But I will be happy to respond to any questions that you may have. Thank you, Julie.
Thank you, Jessica. And sorry, we can't see your slides. Maybe you can send me your slides and I'll share them on our various channels. And I also wanted to mention to people who can't stay with us much longer, if you have any questions, you can just put them in the chat and we'll try and answer them before the end of the session, or we can we can share them with the speakers and we'll make sure that we answer your questions. So thanks again, Jessica, and we will move on to Indonesia with Mr. Yuli Kuzworo. Yuli, are you with us? Sorry to make you wait till.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you and we can see you. Thank you so much for joining us. So can you introduce yourself and Arkom Indonesia?
Yeah. And maybe the host can help me to share the screen for me. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, good morning, everyone, and also good afternoon, good evening for everyone in another side of the world. And yeah, the first I want to share, I want to introduce that my organization actually the part of the Asian Coalition for Housing Rights Network in the Asia. Since 2009, we are mostly a community architects focusing work in the urban poor with homeless people and also in the post-disaster context. Yeah, now I will share a small project. This our latest project in Central Sulawesi related with post tsunami project. That this project actually very small to promoting how people, how survivor can work together collectively to build their homes. And also we want to this project actually want to show that how people can dealing with the problem with related with the environmental, especially the housing issues on post-disaster, and also how to advocate the policy of housing after disaster. Next, please. Yeah, this the disaster fight on Sulawesi. If you know, on 2018 on September, 7.5 to 9 Richter scale, big earthquake, and continue to the another disaster, tsunami, and new term of disaster in Indonesia, liquefaction. Because before we never heard about the liquefaction, and in Central Sulawesi we know this is the liquefaction disaster, and the number of people that injured is also still big. This is and make a big impact in the, especially in Palu Bay, Palu City Bay, and over 66,000 houses damaged. Next. Yeah, we choose we choose work with a community in coastal area. Why the coastal area is a very strategic? Because the area is rich with natural resources, high potential of rights, especially in environmentally, livelihood, social culture, and gender equal justice. And also with this area is a strategy to promoting community-led approach on reconstruction process. This area also is a massive impact of the tsunami. Mostly people working in the informal sector, fishermen, local fishermen, and also they don't want to leave the original village because working in the related with the sea. And after the disaster, this is a classical approach by government that they want to relocate people who living in the coastal area, because this is a dangerous prone zone, and also the government say that they want to protect people, local people, and make a big scenario for resettlement project. Next. Next, please. Yeah, my organization try to working with before this slide, please. We work with in 3 villages. Mostly this village is also with massive damage. With characteristic area is all villages is high damage by the tsunami. Next. And then with how to finding the gaps. This is in the emergency response. We know that the collective work is important things that this is a part of the long-term process, how we organize community, how we collect the social working that actually this is still exists. But in the by the disaster momentum, by disaster case, actually the social cohesion is a loss. But we try to come again and working together with community to identify the root problems. And we think that by implementing the paradigm that people is the survivor, not the victim, this is the key factor to make people involved in the process, to build temporary shelter, create the database, and formulating their aspiration at the beginning. Also, we were working collectively on emergency phase. by some activities like building tea shelter, community center, provide foods, collecting tsunami debris is the real trauma healing for survivor and strengthening each other. This is a very important to start working collectively after the disaster. And also third important things that we already know based on the experience before that government always announced that they will clearing all settlement in 100 meters from the high tide sea level to protect people and make a new regulation. This is a red zone, and government want to relocate all people along the coastal area from the new resettlement by a top-down approach. And this is the gap that local people who living in the coastal area don't want to relocate, move far from the coastal. Next. How communities solve the problem? Yeah, we think that organized people working with the small group working closely is important things. Produce valid spatial database is very important, and then the database classified by community to make aspiration and start organizing with people in the wider group to create alternative solution for reconstruction. This is one process important, very important to build collective work. Next. Yeah, this is the after community make a mapping process, and then we make a spatial database, and the spatial database can share together with a community and negotiate with the government also, and then we know that which houses in the red zone and which houses impact to the green zone, and then we working more detail with community to make a clear solution in the small group. Next. Yeah, this is also the result of the data that actually in 5 villages that we work, there are 3 schemes for housing. First is some people is agreed to relocate by government. This group is actually people working in formal sectors like teacher or something like that. And then second, the group that people want to make a community relocation. It means that they want to move from 100 to another site, but this is still in the close from the sea. And the third group is people who want to make a rebuild on site in green zone. And we start working in the red box that we want that people, some groups want to make a collective relocation by purchase land and looking for a new land. Next. This is the process that after people agree to start working on collectively. By community set planning, we planning long-term collective vision for village, and then also we using the planning using gender action learning system, to engage women and men together, have a voice, same level, and also planning the scheme of repayment system for land purchased to build a new settlement, how to plan infrastructure, how to plan a team for construction, for logistic, for financial management, and also how to design some types of housing, and then also planning to strategy negotiate with the government. This process is actually the way to transfer knowledge from us as a facilitator, as architects, as organization that have experience before on post-disaster housing to local people. And this process is very rich of knowledge. Next. Is that we can share that what kind of knowledge can transfer or share in this process. Two things that we know that two things that are very important is this knowledge is for local people and for local team, because this project actually we also strengthen the local architects in Central Sulawesi, especially about the approach, about the collective construction management, how to create the new scheme of direct build orchestra transfer system, and also how to create a design process, how people learning and understand working on skills, set planning, and then also how share the knowledge about the regulation of housing. And also the important thing is how people can rebuild earthquake resistant housing. Also, the livelihood is part of the important things in the housing, not the separated phase. And also the strategy of a community, how to organize community, how to do advocacy in the city level or in the national level, because this policy in the national level, and also build new networking with between the community and also between the another organization. Next. Yeah, this is the impact after we work 2 years, and this project actually already done on December 2020. In the community level, that many community groups interested to replicate and avoid their original aspiration on relocation by settlement by government. They change the aspiration and want to make a to applicate and implemented this scheme. Also, people want to who living on the less impact of the disaster come together on the workshop, on the new skills that they now work in prefabricated concrete panels workshop, learning and working as a local labor. And third, the impact in the community is the new representative, new perspective from community about the bamboo, about the soil, about coconut wood as important material to build strong houses with limited budget. Before, they only know about concrete, about fabricated material come from another island, and this is actually not environmentally materials. And for the government level, the impact is very important. Now the model or this pilot is already approved and replicated, will replicate it to 3,000 families under the new scheme of the Central Sulawesi Reconstruction and Rehabilitation Project funded by World Bank and national government. This is implemented by government since January of this year. And second, the prefabricated concrete panels made by community that we facilitating, recommended by the central government to purchase by contractor to build more than 5,000 unit houses. This is like a new economic, new livelihood for community. Because the community government have a demand to build more than 10,000 houses by contractors in the relocation set of a resettlement project. Next. I think the last page is this. Yeah, this is the output of the collective housing that we can describe that the output on financial scheme is a collective revolving fund from repayment each month from three communities. There are 60 families for 3 years as a community capital for livelihood for long-term financial scheme. This is important to as a initiative, a way to create co-op housing, like Brenda said in before that this is actually this process is the new to create a new principle of co-op housing, create the value of co-op housing to the community. Second, the land provision scheme, collective land identity negotiated and purchased by 3 community in 3 villages located not far from the sea. It means that the community can solve their problem, but they don't want to far from the sea, but they cannot build in the red zone. So community can looking for land because the solution in the community, not come to the government and government want to move or relocate people until 5 to 10 kilometers from the sea. This is I think a different way. Third, the community architecture scheme. Community can create new house design by stilts and landed houses. This design create collectively and implemented by cash transfer system, combining earthquake system houses with local architecture, and now already built 15 units stilt houses and over 250 landed houses. And lastly, about the collective livelihood scheme, now already built 2 prefabricated concrete panel workshop, produce 25 until 30 houses unit each month. And in this workshop involve 67 survivors certified by Ministry of Public Works to produce concrete panels. Yeah, I think this is I can share that this way is actually only a small case, that this is a small model, but this is an initiative from the people, from us to influence the government in the city level and in the national level, because in Indonesia the model of collective housing is still difficult to promoting, but by disaster we have opportunity, we have the big opportunity to promoting this, and this is the real, and now the government already approved and will replicate this this model. I think this is my presentation. Thank you for your listening. Back to you, Julie.
Thank you very much, Yuli, for presenting this information. It's really encouraging to hear that the government is has opened up their minds to collective housing as a solution to the natural disasters, and with climate change, there's only going to be more, not less. Also nice to see these brightly painted houses. They're very very cheerful. And very impressive to see all the data analysis, and all the thought that's put behind the rebuilding. So congratulations, and keep up the good work. So we are very much over time. So a few people have asked questions in the chat. I think we can have an open discussion for only a few minutes, so top 5 minutes. If anyone has a question to the speakers that are still here. A few speakers have had to leave because they have other meetings and other commitments. Does anyone have anything that they'd like to raise to Yuli, or to Brenda or Jessica, to Sam from the Philippines? Or just feel free to put them in the chat. We had someone who had a question for Brenda and Yuli on what way can we think of collective processes in a scenario or context where there's a massive lack of organizations which are capable both technically and socially, because often this leads to inability of finding appropriate partnerships, which eventually affects the eventual output. How to think innovative collaborations that handhold each other at community level. Brenda or Yuli, would you like to tackle this question?
I think Yuli would be the most appropriate, but I would just make a general comment. I think this is a question that is often asked when discussing how to start a process of community organization. And communities are organized organically already. There is always some way in which communities connect, especially in urban areas where a lot of people are coming from rural areas and come from the similar regions. So there is already a latent way of organization in most communities, I would say. But one strategy that is often used by ACHR groups and members is the creation of savings groups, because savings groups are a material immediate solution to the needs that communities identify. So the main strategy that ACHR groups use to organize communities and to start something from, if you may call it from scratch, but as I was saying, it's never from scratch. A good way of doing it is creating the savings groups, because it's an immediate way of providing solutions. But it's also a key way of getting people to trust each other, getting people to know each other, and to imagine collective solutions together. So this is how I would imagine, or from what I have understood in many of the countries that are part of our network, this is how the process starts. But also there is always a community in a city or in another country even that has had this experience. And usually communities know each other. So there is a way in which connecting communities can inspire each other. If you are from a certain community in your city and you have gone through a process of organization or community savings or accessing land or services, you can share that experience with other communities or people you know in your own city. So this cross-fertilization of experiences is another way that the ACHR members use to invite each other into a larger process of citywide community processes. I don't know if Rohit's question had to do with that, but I think Yuli can also add on your experience in setting up the process in Indonesia.
Yeah, thank you. I think the question from Rohit is already identified as a challenge of this way. So that's why we believe that by people's process, by collective process is we can improve the capacity of the community, looking for the proper solution, not the best, but I think the proper solution for the people. I think this is we already identify this your question, so that's why we use organizing strategy. We use networking strategy and also advocacy, because the in the normal cases, like from the government way, they always use top-down policy. So we know how to counter this, how to engage community by people's process. When every disaster hit in Indonesia, government always said about the relocation. They never know, never talk, never discuss with the people. So actually, this is like our ideology to engage community. People, they have knowledge for looking for like innovative, looking for the solution. So I think by this process, you can see that the process is not too long. When the many people like government said the participatory process is time consuming. No, we built this process for 2 years, as this model can replicate it for another case. And now the community that at the beginning they just want to come to the government, just give the key from the house, and now they oh, that's the law, because by contractor is a very long process to purchase the land, big land, like 20 hectares want to purchase by government. This is a difficult process, but community can negotiate in the smaller scale. So we think that by organize in the working with a small community, small group is more faster, because we can reduce the problem. Community can reduce the problem and make a small solution from the small things. I think this is the one important things that I can share, that community can bring their solution by simple process. So this is actually not a difficult way, but only we believe to the people's way. That's I think.
Thank you, Julie and Brenda. That's a very experiential explanation of how to lead a community together to collectively solve a problem that's impacting people in a very serious way. I would like to give the floor to Jessica, who wanted to add a couple of words from WeEffect in the Philippines.
Yes, thank you very much, Julie. How's my sound doing?
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right. I think there's so many similarities across our countries, and one of these is actually the mistrust between communities and government, because there's really a basis on that. But what we're trying to do really is to link government and the private and the people to come and work together. Because when you do that, government can do land banking even in the cities, and it's really good on them. And then when you talk to the private sector, they would say, we're just here. We have the technical expertise, and we want to do social housing, but the government is providing us the money, because in the Philippines, by law, all socialized housing has to be funded by the government. But when the funds is not there, then people are really forced to do on their own. They can do savings, but that's going to take forever. So all of these gaps, we see them. And so there's really no way but to come and work together. So this is the hybrid that I'm saying. And I think the problem of the slum dwellers, when they were organized into cooperatives, realized that they need to be more responsible, and they have to take care of their estates, etc. So I think this is one thing that we should how do we see it, endeavor to do, to facilitate that confidence building and the trust among these stakeholders. That would be it, Julie.
Thank you, Jessica. All right, so we are going to wrap this up. Unfortunately, we're running into 2 hours and 15 minutes, and we wanted to have this last for an hour and a half. So we had a lot of interesting conversations and presentations, and the intention is to do this on a like biannual basis. So we will be planning another regional forum later on throughout the year. And in the meantime, you can find out more and follow some more stories. We're on Facebook, on Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, and YouTube, and we will be sharing this recording of this webinar, this forum on our YouTube channel, as well as on the ICA Asia Pacific YouTube channel. So there are 2 places there, and then for if you have someone that that missed it, that couldn't attend, just send me an email at jlapalm@chi.coop, and or you can find my email on our website. And then I'm happy to send you the link to the recording. And if you have any comments or suggestions, just jot them down in the chat before we end this session. And so I'd like to thank all of our speakers for taking time out of your busy schedule to share your stories with us, and to raise issues and concerns. The goal of this forum is to connect everyone who is doing similar work in the region, and to talk about common solutions to common problems, and also to just to foster more networking and connecting and peer-to-peer exchanges between folks in the region. So if there's anyone that you'd like to connect with directly, just let me know, and then I can share emails, as long as people are okay with that. So thank you again. Thank you to Shivali and to Balu from ICA Asia Pacific for helping us coordinate this, and for being the people behind the scenes as well, dealing with the technical issues. And I hope that that this planted a seed, and we look forward to hearing from you again, and to doing this kind of regional sharing experience again later on this year. So have a good day and a good night for those that are in other parts of the world, and we will see you again soon, hopefully. So take care. Thanks again.
Thank you so much, Ms. Julie.
Thank you, everyone. Nice seeing you.
Nice seeing you.